वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम्. The 18 shlokas we have been seeing are no doubt called marks of an enlightened person of steady wisdom, Sthita Prajna Lakshana. However, this portion also lets us know the opposite. Prajna is that full awareness of who we are and what this universe is. Prajna from the Advaita Vedanta point of view is that understanding where Brahman alone is the truth and the entire universe, all the living beings in it are just an appearance upon Brahman. And that understanding can be not only got, it can be steady, it can be unwavering, it can be unshaken. In that sense, human life falls just in two camps: those who have that understanding and those who don't have that understanding. Therefore, Sthita Prajna is in that sense a word that doesn't necessarily mean that there are different levels of enlightenment. Enlightenment is once for all. And in the camp of the unenlightened, at the most, they have certain moments of deep appreciation, certain phases of tremendous peace. But unless somebody really switches over to the camp of the enlightened, the prajna of the unenlightened is always subject to fall. So the unenlightened, no matter how progressed or lagging behind they are, then there is the enlightened camp. So among the unenlightened, those who are exposed to the scriptures, those who have developed a good amount of viveka, vairagya and so on, are very eager to know the characteristics of the enlightened. And as I began saying, in this portion, especially in the two shlokas which we will presently see, Sri Krishna throws light on not just Sthita Prajna, but Chuta Prajna also. Chuta, or if you want to have a simpler word, Gata Prajna. One whose understanding has gone out of the windows. Chuta means slipped, fallen. When the sadhakas have a certain steadiness, they walk the path of dharma, they are very right in making choices, they are kind, and number of human values can be seen in them. They live a value-based life. But Gata Prajna or Chuta Prajna or Aprajna, call it as you like, someone who has slipped from that higher understanding. If one were enlightened, there is no question of slipping, as I already said. But the question of sleeping is when one has a very good academic understanding, one has a deep appreciation, and so on. All right, Lord Krishna, starting with a straight definition, somebody who has completely let go of all her desires is a Sthita Prajna, said that the primary challenge for 99.9% of sadhakas on the path, the challenge with which they have to grapple is their own sense organs, all the time demanding gratification. Therefore, even a learned person, he said in 61, in 60 he said even a learned person is likely to fall, and 61 he said one has to exercise control. One should not wait for it to happen on its own. One has to do one's 2 cents, one's a little bit to withdraw from sense pleasures, and yukta asita matparaha was the advice given in the verse 61, while a lot of people interpret it as matparaha means be devoted to God. Adi Shankara says in the present context of Jnana Yoga, the advice is stay fixed in the pure self. For mat standing for the first person pronoun I, even though Lord Krishna is saying the I of Sri Krishna, the pure self of God, of everyone, of this entire creation is one. There is one pure self. Kshetrajnam chapi mam vidhi sarva kshetreshu bharata. We quoted. Adi Shankara connects to the next 2 shlokas now. Atha idanim parabhavishyatah sarva anarthamulam idam uchyate. Think of 2 words, Vijaya and Parabhava. Vijaya is victory, Parabhava is defeat. The spiritual sadhana into which all of us are is like a long battle. It's a great war that we are fighting. War against avidya, war against maya, war against negative values, war against erroneous perception. And in this war, alas, we have been losing again and again. That's called parabhava. Parabhava is defeat. Ata idanim parabhavishyatah. Someone who is getting defeated, why does that happen to him or her? Sarva anartha moolam. The basic reason for all evil is just one, and that is mentioned in the 2 shlokas. And before I chant the shlokas, 2 of them together, let me tell you the central message here is thought is your killer. Thought is the culprit. Thought is where you can go down and meet with your ruin. Everything begins with ill-chosen thoughts, wrong thoughts, undesirable thoughts. Even as a bit of your conscience is saying to you, don't have this thought, don't pursue this thought, out of some old vasana, out of ignorance supporting evil activity, the sadhaka or the sadhika goes on and on with undesirable, unhealthy thoughts. So the central message is how thoughts can derail our train and cause unimaginable sorrow. 62 and 63 are an excellent explanation of how we fall and get very miserably caught in worldly life. Dhyayato vishayan punsaha sangastheshu pajayate sangat sanjayate kamaha kamat krodho bhijayate क्रोधात् भवति सम्मोहः सम्मोहात् स्मृति विभ्रमः स्मृतिभ्रंशात् बुद्धिनाशः बुद्धिनाशात् प्रणश्यति. From dhyayatah. Dhyayatah is a present participle. For somebody who contemplates upon sense objects, for someone who is thinking about the dualistic pleasure, I eat this, I get that, I go there, and I sit here, and so on, visualizing, it's all something that starts with visualizing. Vishayan dhyayata. Therefore, commentators have made matters very simple. They say, you are at crossroads, one road goes to increased entanglement in the worldly matters, another road takes you to freedom. The road where maximum people go and get entangled, they say, in a simple compound word of Sanskrit, is described as Vishaya Dhyana. Vishaya Dhyana is the way to bondage. Atma Dhyana, to use the language of Jnana Yoga, is the way to freedom. Vishaya Dhyanat Bandhaha, Atma Dhyanat Mukti. If all said and done, this Atma, this Satchidananda Brahma, etc. is a bit hard, then we may take a little simpler expression, Bhagavad Dhyana, contemplation upon God. Think of God. Whenever you get even 2 minutes of free time, don't pick up a magazine. Don't turn the television on in those 2 minutes with no particular agenda, but just to see what's going on. Don't go on collecting more information about COVID-19. You have enough, and do get to know a little here and there, but don't spend all the time in simply collecting repetitive information. 2 minutes. Saints say even in 2 minutes one can go very deep into one's own within. Vishaya Dhyana binds you, Bhagavad Dhyana sets you free, or Atma Dhyana, the language of Jnana Yoga. So, you may have heard how everything, sow a thought, reap an action, sow an action, reap a habit, sow a habit, reap a character, sow a character, reap a destiny. In that string of sentences too, everything begins with sowing a thought leading to action. You go on thinking, then one day, whether you like it or not, you will act upon those thoughts. You might have begun thinking, I'll just have some thoughts, but I don't really plan to do it. Like those monkeys who went on a Ekadashi fast. They just said, we will sit in the banana grove and look at the banana fruits. That's all. We will not eat because we are observing Ekadashi fast. And when they were at the banana grove, they had another thought. Not once, thought repeating in their minds. Let us pluck a banana and hold it in our hands. And after some time, they said, we'll peel the banana, but being Ekadashi, we won't eat it. And then they said, we'll put it in the mouth. That's about it. We won't eat it. And afterwards, there was no need to think, action just happened. Life of every one of us, in all the compromises that mankind does, with money, with pleasure, with relationships, and sometimes causing bloodshed, causing misery to lots of people. In all that, it begins with a thought. Sow a thought, reap an action. That's how it goes. Dhyayato Vishayan Pumsaha. Pumsaha or Naryaha, a lady or a man, entertains thoughts. That is called Vishaya Dhyana. Dhyayataha Dhyanam Kurvataha. The Amrita Bindu Upanishad's mantra is much quoted. Mana eva manushyanam karanam bandha mokshayoho. The mind alone is the cause for both bondage and liberation. Bandhaya vishayasaktam muktam nirvishayam smritam. When our mind is in the habit of dwelling on sense objects, how nice it would be to have a more expensive car. You start visualizing going in that car, living in a bigger house, having better office space, having all kinds of, visualizing oneself. So, how simple Vedanta is, you see. It is through visualization that we practically make ourselves into this body, mind, and intellect. And if we reverse that, let go of the old habitual visualization, but dwell on what the Shastra reveals as our truth. I am the Sakshi. I am not somebody who can go in a car. Why visualize about my going in a very beautiful car? I am not this body at all. I am Satchidananda. I am Atma. I am that silence. I am the life principle because of which this body is presently active. One day the body will drop. No problem. It will make no difference to me. In this way, and with proper guidance from competent teachers, this is not just any brainwash. I'm now never tired of quoting or citing that example when some Americans said to Swami Vivekananda, this Vedanta is good to hear, but are you hypnotizing us? And the young monk said to them just the opposite. You are hypnotized presently. With Vedanta, I am dehypnotizing you. He said without batting an eyelid. That is the truth. By saying I am awareness, we are not brainwashing ourselves. However, we always add that expression with competent guidance. Otherwise, one may just be just repeating the words like a parrot would do. If with proper guidance, one is able to clearly see the truth of the statement, and therefore one is able to practice Atmanishtha. We do not chase this business of becoming. We have become many things. Has it solved our problems? We have arrived at many destinations. Are we happy forever? Many a time, as we get older and older and have amassed wealth, maybe certificates, trophies, people envy us for whatever we have with us, but we in our heart feel more inadequate than ever before. Future looks so uncertain. So, when will we learn the lesson? Sri Krishna says it all began with investing thought energy in things that are impermanent. Bandhaya Vishayasaktam, a mind attached to Vishaya, the impermanent sense objects. leads to bondage, muktam nirvishayam smritam. As the mind learns to let go of its identification, attachment to sense objects, mukti is bound to get uncovered. 8 steps are given here of fall. Vishaya dhyana, thinking about sense objects. At that moment it is a trickle, but very soon it's going to become a roaring wide river. For a man who thinks on sense objects, after a while, Sangha arises. Sangha is an attachment. You have a sense of belonging. You go to some mall, and if you have thought about one category of objects, goods, items, you shut your eyes to all other sections and you go to that section where there are those products and you see them. Sangha is attraction. You go and see. Maybe you have no plans to buy, but you want to be there and see what new items have come. Like they give the examples, the simple example, which can, of course, be different, but the way they put it is a husband, a wife, and a child go to a mall, and in no time, the husband wants to be at some place where there is some equipment, some electronic gadgets, this and that. The wife wants to be at a place where there are some wonderful, pretty new dresses, and the child wants to go to that section of the mall where toys and dolls, etc., are. So each has her own or his own attachment, attraction, and each person believes that there is happiness in those objects. Each person doesn't realize that it is her mind's programming. When in 1980, more or less for the first time, I think it must have been first time I attended a Vedanta class. 1980, I guess September, a friend of mine took me to the Sunday morning Vedanta class for youngsters. That's called Yuva Kendra in Chennai. Brahmachari Paramartha Chaitanya was conducting on Sundays for youngsters. We were college students, so simple stuff he used to say. And my friend Ramakrishnan and I went, and we took one more person. Oh, I don't remember his name. One more person. He said, come on. 3 of us went. Ramakrishnan was already into Vedanta. He introduced me to Vedanta, at that time. He introduced me to Swami Chinmayananda and his literature. He took me to the first Vedanta class ever for me, Paramartha Chaitanya's class. And as Ramakrishna and I sat while listening to Paramartha Chaitanya and thoroughly enjoying his simple narration sprinkled with a little Sanskrit shloka and so on, what about our third member of the team? We didn't even notice his presence. But on the way back, we asked him, how was it? And all he said was, I think that hall needs better seating arrangement and a little more cross ventilation would have been better. And some lighting improvement also is required. Both of us were shocked. We said we did not pay attention at all to those things. We were absorbed in the lecture by Brahmachari ji, who today, as many of you know, is a highly regarded Swamiji, Swami Paramarthananda in Chennai. So that is Sangha. Not that I am praising Ramakrishnan and myself. We have our own, we had and we have, it's not easy to get out of some attachment or other. But on that particular instance, yes, we were, especially I, for me it was so new and it was so elevating, so uplifting. I did not notice whether there were windows or no windows. Who cares, fan or no fan? But our friend had only this to say. Maybe he has become a wonderful entrepreneur and successful businessman, engineer. I don't know where he went. Nothing wrong with that in a general sense. But in that specific context, that friend's sangha, attachment, was to physical things. And about the lecture, he said, there are many people who give such lectures. I am not interested in that, and so on. So all of us have varieties of sangha. How did that sangha happen? How did it begin? If we take a newspaper and we spend more time on a particular page, let us say sports page, and just half a minute on any other page, that means that we have sangha, attachment to sports. And this sangha, attachment to sports and games, doesn't happen all of a sudden. It has happened because of association, long association and long reflection. You went and attended a football match, and later on you went on thinking about it. Dhyayato, it is by thinking. And actually, we have choice every moment with thought. But those of us who are not at all alert simply get swept away by thoughts. So, Vishaya Dhyana, that's where it begins. Then you are attached to particular domains, movies or ice cream or good food or sports or games or politics or music. This world is full of all these, may I call them minefields. You step on those minefields and a mine blasts, and you get sometimes mutilated. You know, those dangerous mines. During some war, they place mines in the in the soil. So if the enemies come over there, as they step on that spot, a mine would blast. And after the war is over, many of those mines are not removed. They neither blasted nor were removed. And then innocent citizens walking by that path become victims. Having mentioned it, as many of you may know, Princess Diana did a lot of work towards removal of those mines at a lot of places where there is no war at this time. But once upon a time there was a war and those mines were placed there, and now innocent common people are getting affected. So she was deeply concerned and she went out of her way. Therefore, she was highly regarded later on for that service she rendered to humanity, for innocent people getting mutilated because of mine blasts was a terrible state of affairs. Now I compared it unwittingly with this Vishaya Dhyana and Sangha. The world is full of those minefields, and we have to withdraw our mind, withdraw thought from all such engagements where superficially we are reflecting, we are enjoying or sometimes fearing particular objects, but on a deeper level, through that engagement with sense objects, Vedantically speaking, we are strengthening an idea of who we are. Let me not go very long on it. If I think on ice cream, superficially I am thinking on ice cream. But Vedanta would say, a little deeper, you are actually strengthening your self notion. I am somebody who enjoys ice cream. I am in my mouth. I am more than anywhere else in the body. I am in this tongue. I reside on this tongue. And ice cream falls on this tongue, I am happy. Ice cream does not fall on this tongue, I am sad. So your identification with the tongue, your identification with eyes, ears, and so on. In other words, that's what we go on talking about in the Vedanta. It is thought that strengthens your identification with the body. I am the body is at the base of all bondage. And there is no identification with the body except for sustained thought. And the sustained thought has to be weakened. Therefore, Bhagavad Dhyana or Atma Dhyana. What's the third step? When there is Sangha, there is attachment. One is bound to desire to possess. As we say, give the example of the mall. Initially, it's just, I want to be there. We sometimes say generously to our family members, don't be in a hurry, go wherever you like, and when you are done, find me in that electronic gadget section. I have no intention to buy anything. I'll just be watching at what are the new things that have come, and find me there, then we'll go back home together. So it begins with, I just will hang around there. Hang around, that's all. But that is when you come across something. Do I have the money to buy this? Oh, it's affordable. I think I'll just pick up one. It's so nice. So that is called kama. Kamaha sanjayate. When we knowingly or unknowingly get pulled towards a domain of sense objects, of becoming somebody, of sitting on a chair, etc., we dream. In the world, in a whole lot of motivational workshops, etc., they look at the same process in a positive way. Dream big and decide what you want to become. Work towards it, plan for it, and become. Sky is the limit. Your future is in your hands. You are the architect of your tomorrows. And blah blah blah, they go on saying. And it has some truth in it, because everybody, in order to become something, works towards that in that fashion. But presently, the context is different. It's not about some profession, it's not about some enterprise where you pursue an idea, create a company, give employment to a lot of people, come out with a product which may help the society in many ways. All that is okay. But that same process can become deadly when it creates a certain enslavement. We get enslaved to sense pleasures, and we get so stuck in I am this personality idea. Otherwise, functionally, that means any enterprise is okay by itself. But watch out, even as you are into a startup, you are launching an enterprise, there is a second dimension to it. Watch out what is happening to the self in you. Have you unknowingly begun to think of yourself as smarter than everybody else? Then you are in danger, because tomorrow, as you get older, maybe your skills either diminish or they are outdated. Your memory fails because of old age or some other market fluctuations, this and that. You are, in spite of the best effort you put in, not as valuable to the society as before. Then the outer enterprise is a different matter. Inwardly, you begin to feel so low about yourself. I am useless. Nobody wants me. I am worthless. Such thoughts keep coming. Lie. It is a lie. You are not worthless. You are not useless. You are wonderful. You are Brahman. You were Brahman. You will be Brahman. But you say, no, I did not know when to get out. I stayed on and now I am a miserable person. I. About your who you are, thoughts dictate the terms. Thoughts rule the roost, as the expression goes. You are a victim of thoughts. You are completely in the clutches of thoughts. You are not with truth. You are not with reality. You are not on the ground. Thoughts have as though hijacked you, lifted you off the ground, and they are holding you in mid air and threatening you. Will drop you now, you will fall down and break your bones and you cry. Thoughts do all this vicious magic. That is, third step is kama. Vishaya dhyana, 1. Sangha, 2. Kama, third. And when kama is fulfilled, we are happy. When kama is thwarted, kama is obstructed, then that energy of kama, as Ishwaran uses the expression, burns into anger. As you all have studied a little physics, you hold an iron ball at 10 feet height and it has what is called potential energy. Release it, it starts moving downwards. As it is moving, it has kinetic energy. As it hits the ground, there is a sound, tap, and probably you touch that surface, it's a little hot also. So in simple school physics, we say kinetic energy now got converted to sound and heat. In that way, karma is a certain energy. When it is obstructed, somebody comes in the way of our fulfilling our desire for whatever it is, then it burns into anger, krodha. So this is the fourth step. We came down. Now what happens? Krodhat bhavati sammoha. Fifth step. Sammoha is a certain inability to see what is right, what is wrong, what is to be done, what is not to be done. One is unable to see. That is sammoha, delusion. That leads to number 6, smriti vibhrama. There is total forgetfulness about what we had studied in the scriptures about right thing to do and wrong thing to be avoided. Karya, akarya, right? These are the two issues. Karya and akarya. Karya means what has to be done. Akarya, what should not be done. So, sammoha is inability to see the distinction. Smriti vibhrama, loss of memory, is not remembering what scriptures had to say about it. And Smriti Bhramshat, number 7, Buddhi Nasha. Buddhi Nasha is the Antakarana. You have a certain tool inside you. You have a certain inner equipment, right? And that Buddhi fails to operate, fails to exercise. If Buddhi were to be at least up and active, then you can start everything, as the expression goes, starting from the first principles. Many of you have passed a lot of examinations doing like that. I was always into that. I would be an 11th hour person, but I would know the basics. Then at the examination hall, I forget a certain equation. And I say, no problem. Go to another page and start working from basic principles, find that necessary equation, then come back to the main problem. So, if buddhi is active, even if you have forgotten certain end product, what is to be done, what is not to be done, you start with basic principles and arrive it. But if buddhi doesn't work, therefore, you will see Adi Shankara says, Karya Akarya Vishaya Viveka Yogyata. To do Viveka, you need a certain Yogyata, fitness, and that resides in the Antakarana. So, if you don't have the ready product, you must have at least the intelligence to prepare afresh, right? If you have prepared some nice laddus and somehow some child came and made the whole plate of laddus fall and all the laddus fell into soil and got dirtied. Now, if you are a very good cook and no doubt your heart breaks, I prepared all these laddus for this Diwali festival, and this grandchild of mine, as in Hindi they say, mitti mein mila diya, all fell into soil. No single laddu is good for eating now. But you, the grandmother or grandfather, would say, no problem. hold on, I have the material and quickly I'll prepare, if not as many as I had prepared before. I have today 8 or 10 guests. Everybody should get 2 each. I'll prepare 20 new laddus, and the grandfather that you are closes the kitchen door, and the child especially is kept at a good distance. And maybe an hour or so, you again prepare. So if you have the knowledge how to prepare, then you can rebuild. That is Buddhi's role. If you have the Buddhi, then you can work from basic principles. Those scriptures, those gurus, those guides, nobody is near you. But you have Buddhi. You sit down quietly, take a deep breath. Where have I come? Where have I arrived? My life is so messed up. But wait a minute. Let me ask myself some fundamental questions. What is it I want in life? In this way you start. That's called working from first principles. Yeah, the word is first principles. In all sciences, there are some first principles. If you have a good grip on those first principles and a couple of tools with you, you can arrive by yourself at a whole lot of famous equations and other forms of understanding. Needless to say, when Buddhi itself, that ability to work from first principles, is gone, pranashyati, that's the 8th step. Pranashyati, in Hinduism, we do not believe in eternal hell. Nobody goes eternally to hell. So pranashyati is completely destroyed, means it's a strong way to say that you are so down that it will take very long time. It's not going to be easy for you to recover. So pranasha not to be taken literally. Nobody gets destroyed forever in Hinduism. I mean, not only Hindus, anybody. That is the Hindu angle of view. Somebody said once, is there rebirth for Muslims? And another person said, I think no, Muslims are not reborn. Hindus are reborn because their scripture says they are reborn. Muslims, Christians, they don't talk about rebirth, so they don't get a second birth. It cannot be like that. The truth is one. And which philosophy, which school of thought, which religion has done maximum justice to the science of Samparaya, it is called, the movement of the soul, is to be found out by everybody. We believe that Sanatana Dharma found so many secrets. We at least believe, though we are criticized for being in our own world because people have different faiths, but our faith is reincarnation is a truth. And other religious philosophies, maybe in an attempt to simplify matters, said there is only one life. Better you be good in this life itself. If you are good, you go to heaven. If you are bad, you go to hell. To hell for how long? Forever. Eternal damnation, it is called. That's a very cruel thing. What God is he if he condemns somebody to hell forever for not believing him? So all this has to be taken with a grain of salt, and we have to examine. It may not be literally so. So other religions which talk of eternal damnation, on the day of judgment, certain souls are told, you are given chance again and again, and yet you did not accept. Now go to hell, never to return. There is no second chance for you. Those cannot be literally true. That has to mean you better learn now. Again, we give you chances. Chances are given endlessly. And nature ensures, the laws of nature, laws of God, ensure that even the dullest person finally wakes up, works out his way, her way, and attains enlightenment. Shankara explains this in simple ways, though couple of expressions are so good. ध्यायतः चिन्तयतः विषयान् शब्दादीन् विषय विशेषान् आलोचयतः. In Hindi and certain North Indian languages, alochana means criticism. But in some South Indian languages, alochana is thinking. Probably in Sanskrit, both those meanings are supported. So it is a matter of usage. Shankara uses the word alochayataha in the way it is used in some South Indian languages, thinking. Alochana is thinking. Somewhere else it is criticism. So, like Upanyasa. Upanyasa is a lecture in some South Indian languages, I think Kannada, Telugu and so on. But Upanyasa is a novel in Hindi. So the same Sanskrit word may have multiple meanings. Some meanings are highlighted in certain Indian languages, others are put to the background, and some other meaning is in the forefront, and this meaning is in the background. So we should not think that this is right, that is wrong. All are right, what they have highlighted. Two people may say the loudest voice, Delhi. Somebody may refer to Delhi, the capital of India, and another person may refer to Delhi, a small town in United States. There is a town by that name. There is a Moscow in United States, as you know, same name. So both are right. Someone says I am talking of the town in US. Someone says I am talking of capital of India. Both of you are right. There is a town by that name. So alochayata is here not criticizing but thinking. Thinking of sense objects. Purushasya sangaha asaktihi pritihi. One gets drawn to that more and more. As I gave the example of a certain page of the newspaper. One is so drawn to that page, one is on that page only for last half an hour, reading every word over there. So that is called priti, sangha. Then upajayate, uppadyate, sangat sanjayate kamaha, trishna, wanting to possess, wanting to have. And kamat, pratihatat, when obstructed. That's the connection between kama and krodha. Kama fulfilled leads to greed or lobha. Kama obstructed burns into anger. Krodhat sammoha avivekaha, indiscrimination. One hurriedly does what should not be done, and one goes on postponing what needs to be done. Look at that. One has to speed up with right thing and just drop the idea of doing the wrong thing. But in aviveka, karya akarya vishaya aviveka, that is sammoha. Vishayadhyana and sangha, kama and krodha, the fifth step is sammoha, delusion. And how do we say anger leads to sammoha? Kruddhohi, says Adi Shankara. When someone is furious, his desires are obstructed, his ego is hurt, he is agitated, then the disturbance causing delusion expresses in such a way, Gurum api akroshati. He yells at his own Guru. He talks ill of his own Guru, which he would have never done otherwise. But in a disturbed state of mind, he or she does things which make everybody's eyebrows go up. Sammoha smriti vibramaha. But he had studied, he had thought, he or she was advising everybody else, and how come? Yes, in this smriti vibhrama, Rather, in the sammoha, one forgets. Smriti is memory. Whatever one had learned from Shastra, Acharya, Upadesha, instructions received either from scriptures or from one's teacher, and whatever sanskara janita upadesha ahita sanskara janitayaha smrite. So even if it was 5 years back, even it was 10 years back, whatever you had heard and deeply appreciated in a class, let us say, would leave behind. Ahita means it leaves behind a sanskara, and that should arise as memory. Yes, generally it does arise, but in this krodha and sammoha, it doesn't arise. As Bhagavan Bhashyakara puts it so beautifully, Smriti Utpatti Nimitta Praptau. Prapti means you got the occasion. There is the nimitta, the right setting for Smriti Utpatti. This is when that memory should have risen, but it did not rise. Smriti Utpatti Nimitta Praptau Anutpatti. That is Smriti Vibhrama. Unfortunate students, after they enter the examination hall, forget the equations or drawings or graphs and so on. When that is the time they should get actually. The question is asking, write a diagram of a trapezoid. Trapezoid, his mind goes to circus and doesn't remember the geometrical. Write the drawing picture of an octagon. Octopus. What is octagon? When the examination paper is asking, that's when memory should arise. Before he entered the exam hall, he had taught everybody else. So, without a need to explain further, this is the tragedy. When our mind is agitated, then we forget what normally we would remember very easily. Smriti Bhramshat, Buddhi Nashaha, coming to the seventh level, Buddhehe Nashaha. I had explained it already to some extent. Acharya Shankara puts it, Karya Akarya Vishaya Viveka Ayogyata. Ayogyata. That very tool, that very instrument in us, buddhi, which could have worked out everything from first principles. Antakaranasya buddhehe nashaha. Buddhi nasha pranashyati. That's the end of it. In a sense, there is no eternal end. One comes back after a long time. But for a long time, one will be in a miserable condition. Do we want that? Certainly, none of us wants to lose time like that. Tavadeva hi purushaha yavat antakaranam tadiyam karya viveka yogyam. When a man loses that basic ability to work and find out what is right, what is wrong, the ability to think, then he is no more a purusha at all. Because purushartha yogyaha sahana asti. A purusha is somebody who can pursue a purushartha. Artha, kama, dharma, moksha, these are the purusharthas. If we are able to work towards it, then we are true human beings. We lost our humanity itself. Tadayogyatve, when we are not fit at all, our buddhi itself has got damaged. Tadayogyatve, nashtaha eva purusho bhavati. He is gone. He is not in the game. He is dismissed, out. Like in sports, sometimes if somebody misbehaves, that player is disqualified for 5 years, for 2 seasons, for a certain length of time. Cannot, if it's cricket, cannot pick up the bat and walk into the playing field. Stay out, be in the audience. That's all. So that is what happens to us if we don't pay heed to the scriptural warnings. अतः तस्य अंतःकरणस्य बुद्धेः नाशात् प्रणश्यति पुरुषार्थ अयोग्यः भवति. Leave alone dharma and moksha. One doesn't qualify even for a proper pursuit of artha. We find that in the world. People who have gone down and down morally, ethically, cannot even run a business, cannot even work in the fields where at one time they were very good, cannot behave sensibly. Their own family then keeps them away. Their own near and dear ones get fed up with that person who is acting in a very bizarre manner. So how insightful Gita shlokas are. Buddhinashat pranashyati. Acharya Shankara doesn't say pranashyati means that soul is killed. Soul doesn't die. No one comes to an end in that way. Pranasha here, how beautifully it is said. Purushartha ayogya. For a good length of time, the person is simply incapable of pursuing any meaningless goal in life. Just vegetates and becomes the laughing stock of the town. Everybody either laughs at him or feels such sympathies for him. Oh, how good he was at one time. At one time she was so nice, we used to envy her. But is this the condition to which she or he has fallen now? Oh, I hate to see this. So those who are true well-wishers feel so sad in their heart looking at this person. And those who don't care would laugh at him. And so on. You and I neither want to be pitied by others nor want to be laughed at. If we want to avoid being laughed at or pitied at, we better work on our mind. Instead of Vishaya Dhyana, we must do Atma Dhyana. If Atma Dhyana is a little vague, do Bhagavad Dhyana. Hold God. Everything will come back to right setting, right order. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.